This is Comic Geek Speak episode 1608, CGS Special Edition, DC Universe Rebirth number 1.
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Danny O'Brien.
And welcome to the show, as Murd so eloquently put, CGS Special Edition.
Hoo-yah!
Yeah, we haven't done one of these in a while where we talk about an important comic the day it comes out. As we're recording this, it's a little after 6 in the East on Wednesday, May 25th, 2016 AD. Here to talk about DC Universe Rebirth number 1. And, of course, there'll be spoilers ahoy. Plenty of
If you haven't already been spoiled by the internet, be spoiled by us.
And thank God I managed to not be spoiled.
You and me both. I happened upon a picture that someone posted days ago, and as soon as it was popping up and I saw a picture instead of just words of something I was looking for, I completely averted my eyes. I think I saw some yellow and red, and I'm like, that's enough. I don't want to see any more.
Yeah, I mentioned somewhere that, don't go on Reddit, it's leaked, and then Danny texted me, stay off the internet! So I was like, you got it, I was off the internet. And actually, staying off the internet isn't a bad thing, just for general purposes, quite frankly.
Right, you are, said the hosts of a podcast, distributed over the internet.
All right, so like I said, we're going to talk all about this issue in some exhausting detail, hopefully, because I got all kinds of things I want to get off my chest about this.
I have notes.
I have notes as well, I'm sure.
Wow.
Oh, you have notes as well?
Do you have Merc?
Kudos to both of you. I have no notes.
Oh, my God!
I barely got it read in time.
It's all up here,
I
isn't it?
understand
Yeah, it's out of order, but yeah, it's up there.
What about you, Dan? You got notes?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No.
Danny, like I had work stuff to do today, and
all
therefore
right.
did not have
Yeah,
as much
it was
time.
my day off.
I
so
did too. I scarfed down my lunch while I'm working so I could have my entire lunch hour to read the book.
Oh, and thanks to Teemu, what's his last name?
Ruotsalainen?
From, I think...
Finland, I'm pretty
yes.
sure.
Who, when I was in London, gave us some money for the studio and things, and actually we used some of that to buy the comics today for
Nice.
myself and Shane. So
Yeah, thank you very much.
Because I went over and got Shane his copy.
Yeah, Pants dropped it off at work. It was great.
Yeah, but I deliver. Who
Yeah.
does?
I called him up when I thought, I don't know if I'm going to have enough time before the show. Pants, can you pick me up a copy and drop it off?
Yes,
It is
I
some
can.
signature service.
It worked perfectly.
Hope you gave him a nice tip.
I did. I tell him to buy low and sell high.
Get a haircut and get a real job.
By
Yeah,
International
with 2
Steel
bits.
at 28 and a half. All right, well, anyway, this episode of Comic Geek Speak is brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com. I actually pre-ordered this copy.
I did too.
And what did it cost you there?
74 cents.
Incredible.
But I won't get it for another 2 days, so I wanted to get a hard copy in my hands right now.
Yeah, we all broke down and just bought the advance copy off the rack.
Right. Because, as always, when you pre-order from them any DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, or Image book, they are right away 40% off cover price. Most other publishers' comics are between 20 and 35% off cover price. And they do run numerous specials every month, anywhere from 45, 50, 60, even up to 75% off cover price.
I kind of think that's what we got on
That's
DC Universe
That's
Rebirth.
what we got on it, 75% off.
$2.99 is cheap enough for an 80-page comic,
Yes.
but 78 cents. Wowee.
Exactly. They do also run several bundles. They had several Rebirth bundles where you can get many of the new Rebirth titles all at one low price. And also they've been doing, quite recently, a half off all new DC and Marvel trades and hardcovers you pre-order. You get your book shipped to you weekly, twice monthly, or monthly, bags and boards. I'm using them for quite a long time. We love them. Discounts Comic Book Service, dcbservice.com. Before we get into the meat of the issue, Shane, you had a little...
Yes.
Because you missed the episode where Danny talked about the logo.
I did.
We will talk about the logo.
And I didn't listen to it yet, but I'm pretty sure she didn't like it. From her, post you had on Facebook or something? I like it. I do wish it was a little bit more bullet-ish from like the heyday of 70s to 80s that I was growing up with and late 80s. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I do kind of wish it was 1/4 turn to the left a little bit.
Have you seen the forum thread where a few people made a few graphic alterations to it?
Yes, and I love some of those. Man, some of them are out of this world. But yeah, for what it is, I don't mind this. It looks very classic to me. Would I do something more with it? Yeah, but I like it well enough.
Okay.
And then I'll listen to the episode to hear how Danny doesn't.
Very good.
And I understand why. She has a better eye for it than I would.
Yes, exactly. She went to school for it.
That's right.
We have an expert.
She got paid to say this sucks.
I wish.
All right. Well, I must warn our general listeners, I may work blue in this episode because I fucking love this book. Holy shit. I didn't know what to expect from this thing, but parts of this thing moved me to tears. I love this thing so much. Let me give you a brief history of why I love this book so much. I was reading comics starting in some in the mid-'70s, a few things off the racks. Really loved The Flash. Probably was my favorite character at that time. Early 80s, 81, 82, I got rid of all my comics except one. Which one was that, Merge? You know which one I kept?
No, I don't.
DC Comics Presents Annual Number 1.
Oh, right. The Earth 1, 2, and 3 Superman and Luthor team up.
Right.
Great story.
Yeah. Mid-80s was mostly into trading cards, but late 80s, I sort of got back into it when I heard that Barry Allen had died. I said, what? And this crisis? What crisis? That's what got me into comics. Started at that time reading the new Flash comic, which, of course, was Wally West's The Flash. The TV show was on around that time. And I just fell in love with Wally West as The Flash because you had Mark Waid writing at that time. You know, it was in his heyday. The return of Barry Allen's storyline is like my favorite storyline of all time. I own 2 original covers from that series. My favorite issue of all time, issue 79. I own that cover. I own the 2-page title spread, which is gorgeous in that. So I'm a huge Wally West fan. And, of course, he was one of the main characters that was missing from the new 52.
Yes, he was.
And, you know, I've been sort of cynical about the new relaunch these last few years. I actually stopped buying them, so I stopped talking about them because I wasn't reading them. It just didn't keep my interest. This Rebirth, to see him reappear and be the narrator for the story, I mean, it was just amazing. Just to start off, the first page, and of course, like I said, spoilers aplenty. I'm reading it, and I turn the page, and I come back, and wait a minute, Uncle, this is Wally as a narrator. I figured it out early, and that's the narrator. I was like, and then when it got to that reveal of him, I was like, boom. Okay, it was the first emotional moment for me. I was like, oh my God. Now, granted, he's in his old Kid Flash uniform, but still, it's Wally freaking West. Love that. Again, hindsight, I already read this thing twice already. Again, the first page, there's a 9-panel grid. Mm-hmm. It's like, I didn't catch it the first time around, which we'll get to later.
Close-up of a watch and its inner workings.
Goodness gracious me. And you can't really have a Jeff Johns written Rebirth comic without Ethan Van Sciver artwork. Of course, because he did Green Lantern Rebirth, Flash Rebirth, and he did first sequence in here, and I love his artwork. Somehow we have 3 Jokers here. Has me very intrigued. By the way, has anybody read, it says here at the very beginning,
I haven't yet,
the Justice League 50 and Superman 52?
Both of those comics came out today.
Okay.
I'll get them this weekend.
But, yeah, the reveal about there being 3 Jokers. For a little while during the Dark Side War, Batman was sitting in Metron's Mobius chair, and he was the god of knowledge for a brief time, and he wasn't able to retain everything he learned. But one of the first questions he asked the chair was, what's the Joker's true name? And his face tensed up, and he said, impossible, when he heard the answer. Mm-hmm. And we learned in Justice League number 50 that the answer was, well, the chair didn't give him a name, it just told him that there was more than one Joker. There were, in fact, 3 of them. So that's one of several interesting little mysterious tidbits floated to us in this one-shot.
And, of course, in Superman 52, I guess Superman dies.
Right, the post-Flashpoint New 52 Superman. He dies in a clash with a kid from Minnesota named Denny Swan, as in Denny O'Neil and Kurt Swan. So it's a nod to the Kryptonite No More story from the early Bronze Age, who obtained a copy of Superman's powers and memories. He became like this out-of-control solar-powered entity, like a living solar flare. And that Superman, the post-Flashpoint Superman, and Denny Swan clash in the stratosphere of Earth. Superman was already dying of kryptonite poisoning. I think absorbing all of that corrupted solar energy poisoned him still further, so that he slowly turned green, surrounded by friends and loved ones, and just kind of his body turned to sand. Another callback to the Bronze Age.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Because there was a sand entity in that Denny O'Neil and Kurt Swan story back in the day. But anyway, the pre-Flashpoint Superman, who, as you know, has been hanging out with his Lois and their son in the post-Flashpoint universe, is kind of living in the shadows incognito. He is now primed to take over as the new Superman of the New 52 continuity.
We'll get to, of course. They touch on what happened in Flashpoint with the letter Thomas Wayne sent to Bruce.
Yep.
I love the retelling of Wally's origins, how he became the Flash. The homages to Flash 135 when he got his new costume. The Red Skies, of course, the Crisis when he had lost his powers, and then sees Barry's ring and costume. And then there's the image of him where he says, Jay, I'm no longer Kid Flash. From this day forth, the Flash lives again, from Crisis.
Also Crisis number 12.
Page 40. The Linda Park shows seeing her again. The homages to Rebirth, and then this big hand pulling through. Loved it.
Watch out for those giant cosmic hands.
Yes. Again, I'm just going to sort of skimming through it real quickly, but we see Johnny Thunder again, and the Justice Society America, and that was an emotional scene for me. We see Saturn Girl again, and now I get into the Gary Frank drawn part of the story, because he did all the work with Superman. We had the Legion story not too long ago.
Superman and the Legion of Superheroes.
Gorgeous stuff. We see the Adams, Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi.
Love that they're together,
right?
Like that.
Yes.
Legacy isn't forgotten.
Legacy isn't forgotten. And then Shane.
Oh, Pants, I'm going to tell you that second page where the bug's in it. If you see that, let me know.
Well, I mean, looking through this thing.
Although that's going to be a Gary Frank page.
There's so many pages from this thing. I would just about do anything for. It's like all the Flash and the Wally and Barry pages later on. Good God. Dr. Fate shows up.
And says that the Scarab is magical, not alien, which is awesome.
We see Pandora disappear.
Well, you go through Robin's 13th birthday.
Oh, yes.
I forget that Green Lantern's name.
Jessica Cruz.
Thank you. And then you see Jackson.
The Aqualad.
Which I believe is Aqualad.
Right, Jackson Hyde.
And then Pandora,
and she disappears.
Possibly disintegrates.
And of course, reading again, sort of like, Rorschach just got exploded up real good by Doc Manhattan.
Yeah.
Good call there. Even the color of the energy is right.
Yeah. You didn't get that? Well, you read it so quickly, I'm going to guess.
Well, no, I didn't. I wasn't thinking in terms of Watchmen until the very end.
Right, which, holy cow, we'll get to that shortly. By the way, Danny, also feel free to jump in if I keep rambling here.
Oh, no, it's okay. I don't know much about DC history, actually, so I'm kind of interested to listen to you guys and your opinions on it.
All right, then.
We see,
keep on feeding Danny's head.
We see some stuff here about Diana Wonder Woman having a brother, which I guess was touched on in one of those other Justice League.
In the Dark Side War,
Right.
It was very important to the resolution of that story.
Yes.
As well as a new Darkseid baby?
Yep.
Yeah, because he...
Yeah, I think Darkseid was dead.
He was.
And they performed some kind of Amazonian ritual to switch minds between...
Superwoman had a baby, I believe.
Right, Superwoman, who is the Lois Lane of the post-Flashpoint multiverses, Earth 3.
Correct.
And the father is the post-Flashpoint Earth 3's Lex Luthor.
Correct.
Who went by the name of Mazas. And he had the sort of dark, corrupt, inverted Captain Marvel powers. And so he became the host for Darkseid. They performed this Amazon ritual that switched their two souls, I guess, so that now the baby went into Darkseid's lifeless body and animated it, and I guess Darkseid is now in the baby's body.
We see, of course, what happened with Superman dying. Nice little Black Canary Green Arrow page.
Yeah.
We see the whole thing with Lois and Clark from the pre-Flashpoint at the Siegel Motel and Coffee Shop. I caught that.
I wish the coffee shop were the Schuster coffee shop.
Well, yeah, that's...
Yeah, I agree with that. One of them be one and one the other.
Each, yeah.
Right, Siegel, Schuster. And then we see this...
Mr. Oz.
Mr. Oz, and unfortunately, I did read some other things that, I mean, it's been speculated this might be the Ozymandias-ish character.
Okay.
In a Watchmen kind of thing, which I never would have thought without having, unfortunately, looked online. Again, internet bad for you sometimes. Nice Aquaman and Mira moments where he proposes to her. And then, again, this next thing killed me with Linda Park, because they went through so much in the Wally West Flash.
Yeah.
She was his rod. She was what he always was drawn.
They did that all the way through the JLA Lightning saga.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. And to see when Wally sees Linda Park again, and then she doesn't know who he is, just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then we get into the filamented stuff with the Flash here. There's that panel with Wally in the same pose as Barry Allen from Crisis number 2,
page
7. Yes. Oh, but that's good. I knew you would love that Murdered Crisis guy that you are. You know, Wally sees the Wally West from this world.
Who then, he explains, is his cousin.
And then we see Barry Allen. And this is where I just started bawling like a 2-year-old, some of this stuff here. It was just so... I don't know. It's maybe with my history of the Flash, when he remembers Wally, and they're both crying in this thing, and then that page, how could I ever forget you? Oh, that just knocked me out.
Those whole 9 pages, man, that was out of this world.
That just knocked me out. And then the reveal that, it wasn't the Flashpoint that messed up, it was something else, and there was all kinds of pronouns used. Like, it was more than one. It was like, where's this? So, like, they attacked, someone else did, whoever they are. Wally's saying is Ms. Mom.
They're more powerful than the Reverse Flash.
Yes. And then I'm like, what the... I literally said, what the fuck? With this, again, second to last page, you got a 9-panel grid there, Batman in the Batcave, and he finds the comedian's button from Watchmen? I'm like, oh my god, what the hell is this?
That is some The Kingdom Planet Krypton shit right there.
Holy crap. I nearly plotzed. And then this epilogue where, again, you see the watch going back, and we're back to...
It's on Mars.
It's definitely on Mars.
And the clock is ticking across the DC universe. This thing knocked me out.
We touched on all of it, but here's what I wrote, if I can get through it quickly.
Don't take your time, Shane.
Wally West is Kid Flash back trying to find a way back to Earth because he's trapped outside. Somewhere in there he explains about 10 years was plucked out by someone.
I forgot about that completely.
Manipulating reality at the Flashpoint. Johnny Thunder's back, and no one believes him about the Thunderbolt and the JSA except his grandson, which we don't know.
His great-grandson.
His great-grandson. Okay, thank you. Saturn Girl is back, trapped on our Earth, arrested for stealing food, which made me chuckle because food where she is free. Ryan Choi is a student of Ray Palmer, and Ray is lost in the microverse. Kind of cool.
He just had to call it the microverse.
Jaime has the Scarab and went to Ted Cord, which I put in big letters. Ted Cord!
Ted Cord!
Oh, God, thank God. to remove it, but Ted wants him to be a hero, kind of against Jaime's will at this point. Dr. Fate shows up and says the Scarab is magic, not alien. Then Robin turns 13, which is Damian Wayne. Hal tells the new Green Lantern he is busy dealing with Sinestro, and she has to talk to the other new Green Lantern with the gun, so I forget his name too.
Simon Boz.
Thank you. Jackson, Aqualad, is getting yelled at by his mom for being gay, which and he's staring at the fish tank. Now, I haven't read much about him. Is he just, I wonder if he's just longing to be Aqualad or swimming or something, and something's drawing him.
Hard to say. I think this is the first time we've seen this version of Aqualad in this version of continuity.
All right. Pandora's running and is erased by someone, a monster, for doing something. Which
a lonely, cruel monster.
We know stuff later that might do that. Wally sees the new Darkseid born, and hears Diana has a brother named Jason, who's out there somewhere. Someone died, which the Superman of the New 52, and then I listed all the characters that were around it, which was a neat collection of characters. Green Arrow and Black Canary feel a lost connection, which I thought that was neat how they drew it with them facing each other at longingly looking at what they don't know they're missing. Aquaman proposes to Mira. Wally finds Linda, hoping she is his lightning rod, but isn't. Wally fears he's almost out of time. Oh, boy. I couldn't read my own handwriting. Mysterious would-be heroes outside of Gotham looking in at the signal, which they're going to be in, I think, in Batman.
Yeah, I think
that's Tom King's Batman.
Constantine and Swamp Thing are conversing in the swamp. Wally is thrown through Captain Boomerang, Cyborg, Grayson, no one that he can connect with.
Just for a second there, Captain Boomerang.
I can't figure that one out either. I would expect Tim Drake to be drawn to him because of what happened with Tim's father in but I don't know.
I'm going back to Identity Crisis where I thought that he was dead. Similarly, where they mentioned Gene Loring.
Well, that was the pre-Flashpoint.
That's what I took.
Okay, so all right. That's what I was.
Some of that's not
okay.
Like Wally remembers that, I'm sure.
Right.
And at some point he references to Barry. Maybe I have it written down next, where this is a younger version of himself than what he would remember. So Wally understands that he is now younger than he should be for whatever's happening. The way I read it, anyway. Wally West, the pre-Flashpoint Wally, sees Wally West, the post-Flashpoint Wally, and explains they're really cousins. And
awesome!
How they are named and everything, which is kind of cool.
So apparently, retroactively, even pre-Flashpoint, there was a second Wally West out there.
Right.
It's just Wally happened to have an African-American cousin that has his same name that nobody ever knew about.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, sure. I feel better than okay about that, actually.
Wally finds Barry in his last moment and tells Barry thanks for everything in fantastic detail. And in the last second, Barry remembers him, grabs Wally and pulls him all the way out of the Speed Force into this world. Barry starts to blame himself for everything that happened, and Wally says, no, it was others that caused it, not you. Barry and Wally may go to Batman to talk to him next because he has the next strongest connection to pre-Flashpoint universe with the letter.
The letter, yeah.
And Batman sees something in the cane, digs around, and it's the Watchman button. That's it. My 23 bullet points. I was trying to get to 52. I couldn't make that up. But exciting stuff. I was riveted reading this. I was so excited. Not just because it was something that I was looking forward to, hopefully resetting some of the things I disliked about the post-Flashpoint DC universe, but also hoping that Wally would be a catalyst or a narrator or involved or come through something, anything, and to have him be the main narrator through the entire issue just blew me away.
Me as well, yeah.
And for other reasons that you know, and you would probably know if you thought about it, from yesterday, which we're not going to talk about at all, I was on a flash high.
Oh, yes!
So all of this,
my God.
with all of that...
Oh, are we talking about the TV show?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm a few episodes
we're not going to talk about that at all because that's a whole nother... Wow.
Well, that's sort of actually in the issue.
Oh, absolutely is in some ways.
In some ways.
Just
John's made
I don't want to blow it for everybody.
Oh, all right.
Some ways.
Gotcha.
So just what a fantastic couple days for DC and me. And to see Ted Kord and Jaime and Ryan Choi and Ray Palmer, oh my God, I cannot wait to read Blue Beetle. And I have to wait till what? August? September? On the back of the checklist? It's
August 24th.
That's like 3 months away.
Keith Giffen written, Scott Collins art.
I cannot wait. So excited that Ted's finally back. And I mean, we had a hint of him in the post-Flashpoint universe anyway, but nothing ever happened then. So to have him here,
especially since you're losing Justice League 3001.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Last issue of that came out today, too.
That's a great book. I really enjoyed that for all its funness. And that was a hell of a fun book. If you haven't read it and you like Giffen DeMatteis, Justice League type stuff, I recommend picking that up in a heartbeat.
Seconded.
So yeah, reading through this whole entire issue. Then once I read through it, I went back and made all my notes going through page by page. It was just an incredible read and great art throughout the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I mean
lots of fun to look at.
I mean, we mentioned Ethan Van Sciver, of course, Gary Frank, Yvonne Hayes, Phil Jimenez, top-notch artist. Great stuff.
I really, really feel like Jeff Johns went to the other guys, Dan and Jim, or many others as well, or maybe had a big powwow meeting and said, look, this is not working. This is what I think we should do. This is what I want to do. And this is the direction we should go in.
Well, let me go back to the original solicit.
We're losing.
The solicit for this says, it all begins here. Do not skip to the last page. Do not let a friend or message board ruin this comic for you. The future and past of the DC Universe starts here. Don't say we didn't warn you. And then there's the they said it. Rebirth, and this is Jeff Johns, Rebirth is about focusing in on the core of the character and their respective universe. It brings back what has been lost. The legacy of the characters, the love and the hope of the DCU. Couldn't agree more.
I agree.
Love it, love it, love it. Now, I'm sorry, Bird, I want to hear all your thoughts on this issue here.
Go.
I appreciate your hard-charging enthusiasm here, Brian.
Yeah, I sorry I got diarrhea of the mouth here, but it's very rare for me when I enjoy something so much that I was after DC so long. And
it's been a long time since something like this has come. And I've enjoyed the Dark Side Wall very much.
This is Bob Wah Wah.
Bob Wah Wah, talking about the Dark Side Wall. I enjoyed that very much more than I ever thought I would. So to see something like this come so soon after, when I was, for the Justice League stuff, getting comfortable with what they were doing and being, okay, at least the Justice League to me is doing pretty good. This just blew me away, and I'm glad that all of this is now changing to model after this for what comes next.
I enjoyed reading this as well. I got some good thrills out of it. It got my heart racing here and there, but my excitement was somewhat adulterated by, I guess a certain amount of cynicism on my part for having seen and studied things like this in the past.
Well, that's why we come to you for Mr. Graduate work on the paper of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes, enough reboots later, I've come to recognize a certain pattern of apocalyptic rhetoric that follows in the wake of every one of these do-overs, reboots that DC does.
That's not a reboot.
Well, it's kind of dancing
I know, but that's
on the rim of a reboot.
That's the catchphrase everybody keeps saying. It's not a reboot. It's not a reboot.
It is not a reboot. Yeah.
To me, if you're doing all new number ones, it's a reboot.
But those people who are saying that do have a point. They're not restarting history. They're more or less continuing with what began with Flashpoint and the rebooting, which was a reboot. No one's arguing that. Yeah. But here they're just kind of opening that back door that Dan DiDio claimed didn't exist, a crack, and allowing all this stuff to start to seep through. And even back then, as I was scoffing at DiDio for claiming that back door didn't exist, I was thinking to myself, what's probably going to happen is that one of the conspicuously absent pre-Flashpoint characters, Wally West, might show up trying to find his Uncle Barry. And that's so half what's happening here, except it's happening in a way that I did not expect. I didn't think we were going to be getting young Wally West. I didn't think he was going to be rejuvenated to his original... well, not even original, but his earlier Kid Flash state. And the fact that he's lost some time is pretty intriguing. I mean, we're being told here that he's lost time. A lot of characters have. He says to Bruce Wayne, I'm younger than you would remember. We all are. So is he including Bruce himself and all the denizens of the post-Flashpoint?
That's how I read it. I would think that.
Or does he represent a little, a refugee camp of sorts of characters that have been similarly affected by this continuity reboot of Flashpoint and that are stuck outside of reality?
I think it's both. I think it could easily be both.
Because, so we just don't know just yet. And Wally's memories are becoming increasingly hazy as he has been pulled by his uncle in that triumphant scene into the post-Flashpoint reality. His memories of whatever he's been going through since Flashpoint are starting to fade. And his story is continued, it's worth noting, in the new Titans series by Dan Abnett, art by Britt Booth, the Titans Hunt writer. And Shane, have you been, I know you've been buying it. Have you read any of
I got the
Titans
first 3 issues and then I stopped. I can't remember if I picked up some of the other ones after that or not. But no, I haven't read that yet. I want to start reading that before all of this next stuff starts.
Yeah, see, that is a series that I am at this point regretting not picking up because I think there must be ties to pre-Flashpoint continuity in that as well.
I think there are, the way it looks.
And going forward, that's going to be exploring a major mystery introduced in this issue. And Wally West is going to be present to help his Titan friends learn, the riddle of his presence in the New 52 universe. Apparently he's going to be going after whatever mysterious villain tossed him out of time. The showing up of Wally West is kind of an interesting surprise. I mean, I think both Peter and I had him as a second guess for who that hand on the cover was supposed to be. So what's going on with Wally is, of course, central to this story. Then there's the 3 Jokers in the deck. Looking at the monitors in the Batcave, they appear to break down roughly to pre-crisis mischievous Joker, post-crisis killing joke lunatic Joker, and total psychopath face cutting off post-Flashpoint Joker. And all 3 of them seem to be active in the continuity right now, in the post-Flashpoint DCU. How is that possible? We don't know. So this story is kind of it's a big ball of teases thrown together here, both for things for upcoming series and stories in the new Rebirth initiative, and just for mysteries that may be played out in any or several of these aforementioned series. If we're asking ourselves where will the answers to these conundra be found, the answer DC's trying to give us, or perhaps sell us is a more appropriate way to put it, is everywhere.
Oh, cynicism, Bruce.
Want to know the answers? Read all the titles we're putting out to find out.
Well, and I kind of went in thinking that was going to happen. As cynical and right as you are, I expected that through all the story.
Oh, and at the end of Wally's tete-a-tete with Batman, there's a caption that says, as he's sucked back into the Speed Force, reality from across existence spills out. So all kinds of crazy things could be changing in the post-Flashpoint continuity as we go through this Rebirth initiative. And they could just use the sort of Superboy Prime punching reality excuse for that. It's anything that's changing going forward could be attributed to Wally West's incursions. Yeah. A loaded word that is right now, I know, but into DC reality. And yes, we do get this heartstring plucking the trip down memory lane with Wally as he reminisces about the happy, simple life he used to have in those pre-crisis Halcyon days, and also in the post-crisis days when he found his true love, when Barry came back, and all of that good stuff. And then we get that pesky giant black hand. So to the list of suspects, I'm going to add that the ringleader of the Gentry, I don't think he ever got a name, but he showed up in the final issue of Grant Morrison's Multiversity, where it's revealed that there have been several continuity reboots, and that we're now on like our third multiverse, since we had that temporary pre-Flashpoint but post-Infinite Crisis multiverse that kind of went by the wayside. Yep. This mysterious being, like this giant multi-horned shadow demon, claimed credit for that. So assuming Jeff Johns has the guts to play with a character, a concept that Morrison put out there, that might yet be one of the possible suspects for what's causing all of this. Then the scene with Johnny Thunder, it was both exhilarating and also a little depressing. I really didn't want to have to see geriatric Johnny Thunder again.
Because he's one of your favorite characters. I
love Johnny.
I know you do, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just, see him as this sad, scared old man. He doesn't even talk the way he's supposed to. He's lost his 40s lingo. But apparently he still has access to the Thunderbolt somewhere, and we might get our good old-fashioned Greatest Generation JSA back. Because goodness knows I have not been much enamored of the Earth 2 series, like the Earth 2 Society series versions of the JSA. Okay.
Yeah, they're okay, but certainly no comparison.
Yeah, it's just basically one of the cool things about Earth 2 was that it was a nostalgia Earth, and the stories tended to take place in a different time period. Yeah. What they're doing with it now, it's just another alternate reality. Happens to take place in the current era. I feel like I've been tantalized here, and I don't think that we've actually received, amongst all the teases here of different kinds, the really sensational, massive DC Universe secret that Jeff Johns promised we would be seeing. And I was kind of hoping that we'd the curtain would be pulled back, and we would see, not so much the curtain. What's a better metaphor for this?
The cloud would dissipate. The fog would be lifted.
No. The telescope would change its order of magnification, and we would discover a new layer to DC reality, DC cosmology that we never even knew was there. Just some kind of cool little metatextual construction for the process of continuity revisionism. That's what I was hoping for, but not yet. We may yet get it. I'm still thinking of that promo image of the old Silver Age Justice League and the Golden Age Justice Society trapped in big hourglasses.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I believe is the cover for the variant edition of #1 here.
Okay.
So that hint that Wally dropped about stolen time is still out there. I kind of thought when I sat down in the parking lot and read the first scene, I didn't read the whole thing in the parking lot after buying it, but when I got to that point between Wally and Batman in the Batcave, I thought what we were going to find out was that some mysterious entity was forcing the heroes of the DC universe to live out certain sections of their lives over and over again in endless loops.
Sort of like Ragnarok.
Like
or the last
Thomas's
days of the Justice Society.
Yeah, that Ragnarok.
Yes, that's what I was going.
JSA Ragnarok.
Right. Which they were in limbo for how long till they came back there?
Yeah.
It's rhetorical, but if you can answer it, go ahead and answer
1986 to 1992, I think. So that like 6 years, like tops. Which was even less in DC Universe time, really. But still, it's still a heck of a long time if you're actually in it to be fighting a battle against flame giants and other monsters from Norse mythology over and over again and getting killed and brought back to life over and over again. Not pleasant. And goodness only knows where the JSA are now. Maybe with what they're suffering right now is even worse. And Johnny Thunder seems to be of the opinion that he's at least partly at fault for that. So, poor Johnny. And then we see a little 2-page cameo by Saturn Girl. So the Legion is hopefully in the offing again because it's been killing me. There hasn't been a Legion of Superheroes book on the shelves.
Yeah.
And I know that there are friends of ours who've been even more pained by that. The fact that Ray Palmer, another search for Ray Palmer, that was a big deal in the days of Countdown.
Countdown, correct.
It was.
Yeah, but hopefully this one will suck less. And thank goodness Ryan Choi is back. I thought he was very ill-served.
Yes.
As did I.
Previous years. So, but Legacy is not forgotten. We've covered that. And then the two Blue Beetles. Shane, I was exultant for you as much as for me. More than for me, actually, that since we now have both Blue Beetles and a Dr. Fate. I'm not sure which Dr. Fate it's supposed to be. There's a couple of them now. One of them's on Earth 2, like post-Flashpoint Earth 2, and one of them's on the mainstream post-Crisis or post-Flashpoint Earth. They're both named Khalid. Interestingly, it might even be some version from it might be Kent Nelson. It might be like a pre-Flashpoint iteration of Dr. Fate. It's all getting a little bit bizarrely vague. And Ted Kord getting all excited about the Scarab possibly being magic. That big boy-like grin on his face there. That was cool. Then a couple little teases about Jessica Cruz and Jackson Hyde. And is there some significance to Damian Wayne turning 13?
Not that I know of. I was wondering that too. I haven't read Batman in a little while.
He's a teenager.
I guess maybe.
So he's been waiting to join the Teen Titans. And he immediately jumps and goes and tries to take over the team, and they're ready to kill him.
And in Damian fashion, that kind of makes sense.
Now, here's where the eye rolls started to happen. The scene with Pandora, because this is something that's played out in DC event stories of different, not many of them continuity revisionist, but not necessarily. This scene of a character X running for his or her life from some mysterious threat, and then turning and screaming something cryptic that is meant to be a clue to the reader before being offed by whatever that mysterious threat is.
Well, my eye roll would have been sound with yours, but I'm just happy that Pandora's gone.
So I'm not really happy about that, Shane.
I'm not unhappy at all, because I don't think that character served any purpose.
Can you give me a parallel to another, like you said this happened before? Like in
Time Trapper at the beginning of Zero Hour.
Zero Hour, absolutely. All right. I own that first page, by the way.
You've showed it to me. And right down to the purplish cloak. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay, I gotcha.
So she's kind of, she's the metatextual stand-in for the whole New 52 reboot here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was waiting for you to get the metatextual part of that.
It's right there. She was present in the background of every single New 52 number 1. I believe she showed up at the end of Flashpoint number 7 to usher in. She was like the 5. There was only 5 issues. It felt like 7. She got to be the psychopomp. So, and I think either Chris or Bill made up a drinking game where every time I say psychopomp on Comic Geek Speak, drink.
When have you ever said it before in your entire life? I've never heard it before.
Said it. You've listened to Crisis tapes. I guarantee you I've said psychopomp at least once in that podcast. It means a spirit guide.
Oh, no, I understand. I just don't remember it.
So
I just take my word for it.
I'll take your word for it.
You would rather
drink.
Pandora be around?
Okay, I'm going to drink.
Yeah, I don't like to see characters wasted like this.
Well, I think they wasted her from the beginning. Well, really?
Yeah, they tried her with her own solo series, and it didn't take off. But still, I don't like seeing characters like this just sacrificed to whatever tale they're trying to tell. And especially when it happens to be a female character. Again, it's the girl in the refrigerator syndrome, and I don't like to see it happen. Pandora is a character that had further potential. I mean, I feel for her about the same way I felt for characters like Pariah or Harbinger, who were living symbols of the early Crisis story, the first Crisis on Infinite Earths that we all like so much. Hated to see them treated so shabbily, and I don't much like seeing Pandora treated that way either, especially since it's got to be such a cliche by now. But all of that aside, we can just take a look at the things that she's actually saying. She was the one who ushered in this New 52 continuity, and just thinking of the spin that DC, through her, put on that initiative of theirs, how she was talking about how this was all something that was meant to happen, that through the agency of Barry Allen's trip to the past, the three that were split apart could now be one again, meaning the DC Universe, Vertigo, and Wildstorm, bringing those three groups together. So this was kind of similar to the original Crisis. They were trying to tell us that this is the way DC continuity was always meant to be, until fans decided they hated it. And then all of a sudden, no, this was not meant to be. No, some evil thing was doing stuff and bad and... backpedal, basically. And then the character that brought all this to pass explodes. I mean, at least they didn't turn her into the villain of the piece, which they could also have done. But
well, I am happy about that.
But let's look at the... the naive little Pandora unleashed evils upon the world. So there's she feeling, apologetic, maybe feeling used somewhat for having inflicted the New 52 on fandom. And then she says, skepticism, doubt, corruption, all things your cold heart believes in. So she's talking to one or more of the actual villains here. But in the end, there was hope, what was left in Pandora's box. And the heroes of this universe embody it. Their hope, their devotion, their love for one another will vanquish what you've done. It may be over for me, but they will prove you wrong. They will prove you're nothing but a lonely, cruel monster. So we know that whatever entity she's addressing here has social skill problems. And it's a good catch on your part, Brian, that when she is disintegrated, the energy discharge looks an awful lot like what Dr. Manhattan did to Rorschach.
Right. Again, on a second reading is when I picked that up with the very end, with the Watchmen stuff and the dialogue.
Yeah. So that's definitely a prime suspect also. I have my own theory.
Oh, my God, hit me.
Well, I'm going to wait until the end.
Don't hit me, then.
I'll hit you later. Then we have the Wonder Woman's twin brother, that mystery. Thinking of Jason's in the DC universe, Jason Todd is the most obvious.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
And he's old enough to be the brother of an Amazon.
That's what I thought of.
And his mentoring by Batman and his demise and return is mysterious enough to be like Amazonian in some way.
Okay, but I think we need to nail down exactly when Diana was born, though. So there are other possibilities exist. Though there's Jason Rush. That doesn't seem altogether likely. There's Jason from Jason's Quest in Showcase all those years ago.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's twin is out there riding a motorcycle someplace, trying to find his sister.
Well,
man, oh man, I like the way you think. If I haven't said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I like the way you think. I want to subscribe to your newsletter.
It's poorly mimeographed.
But it smells nice being mimeographed.
Oh, thanks, Shane.
Mimeograph.
That's what I was going for.
That's good stuff.
What may be a minor Watchmen hint also in this two-page splash when all the heroes are gathering at the site of Superman's death, knowing his body overloaded on energy and kryptonite radiation and turned to sand. You see Captain Atom in there among the crowd, and he looks pretty much as he did pre-Flashpoint. Whereas the post-Flashpoint, Freddie Williams drawn Captain Atom was more of a Dr. Manhattan analog. They were going for Dr. Manhattan in the DC universe.
Right.
But now he's reverted more or less to type. I don't know if that's happened at some previous point in DC Comics that I missed over the past 5 years. But if this is the first time we've seen Captain Atom back to that appearance, that might be a clue. A Dr. Manhattan-related clue. And then there's Mr. Oz. Ozymandias is a possibility. But I certainly wasn't. I was not thinking in Watchmen terms.
I was not thinking of that.
Through the whole of this.
Neither was I. But again,
until you read it a second time.
And well, actually, I think I saw someone's theory online for that.
All right. So anyway, Mr. Oz. We will almost certainly see more of him. Then the sweet little proposal to Mera so that they can get married a second time for the first time. Again, always. The reveal of Wally West, to me it strains credibility a little bit that there had been a second Wally West pre-Flashpoint, and we just didn't know about it, but what the heck. I'm rolling with it. And then this really poignant scene where Wally is saying this long, goopy goodbye to Barry, and we're all kind of conditioned to accept that this is his swan song.
I thought he was done for.
Yeah. I did too. I did too.
That's where, I mean, I had some emotional a week, about a couple weeks ago. It was really got an up and roller coaster kind of thing, and so that's why I was very emotional with this book. With that, in just a few weeks in the past, I thought we were going to lose Wally West.
I did too.
And, they hinted at it earlier in the beginning. He talked about it, and I thought for sure he was gone. And to have him come back the way he did is like, yeah, yikes.
I felt when reading that part, I really felt like when Infinite Crisis, you had Barry coming through the Speed Force to help Bart.
Oh my God!
That's exactly what I felt at that moment.
I almost bought that page too with George.
That's a great page. And to piggyback on that scene in particular in Infinite Crisis, which again resembles very much like that for me in this issue, listening to it on the
graphic audio.
That sets me off almost every time. I love that part of that in that radio drama in the book, and this just sang true to for me in that way as well.
Seems like we were conditioned to accept this as John's way of giving a respectful send-off to this character we've all known and loved for so many years. The message to us was supposed to be time to let go of the past, but then, no! Barry doesn't let go, and we don't have to either.
Yay! Huzzah!
Yay, DC's marketing to us again. And then Wally has finally got both feet into the post-Flashpoint reality, and he gets to talk it out with his uncle, who remembers him, thank goodness. And he's already losing his memories of where he's been, what he's been doing, what he came back to stop. We learn that he didn't really have such a clear idea of what kind of threat they're up against, just that it's stolen time from everyone, it's refashioned reality to suit its ends, and he's trying to tell Barry about... So we're reassured that it's not really Barry Allen's fault that DC reality went kablooey and we ended up with the New 52 DC universe. Some other force. It was the DC editors. We're responsible. And so Wally says it's someone else. Whoever they are, they did this for a reason, as we cut back to the Batcave. I think they took years from us to weaken us. They struck deep at our hearts, Barry. Barry thinks it was Thawne, the Reverse Flash, and Wally says, no, they're more powerful than that. There's more powerful than Darkseid. And I'm not sure Dr. Manhattan's even more powerful than Darkseid. I don't know what we're really talking about here. There's a force out there we've never met. They've never met the Watchmen. There's going to be a war between hope and despair, love and apathy, faith and disbelief. Batman fingers the letter from his father, the not pre-Flashpoint, not post-Flashpoint, but during Flashpoint version of his dad, Thomas Wayne, whom Barry Allen met during the Flashpoint miniseries. So this is, again, a nod back to when this New 52 business began in Flashpoint number 5. Wally says, I tried to see who it was. When I was outside of time, I felt their presence. I tried to see who it was. I couldn't, but I know they're out there. We can't be sure whether he means literally plural they, as in more than one threat, or if he's just using the gender-neutral they to talk about a single person. And they're waiting to attack again for some reason. I can feel it. Even now, Barry, page turn, we're being watched. And yeah, that was a heck of a final image.
I'm so glad I wasn't spoiled by that, because I'm first reading that, it's like, what the?
As I said, a little artifact of a foreign continuity leaking into this one. And it's a continuity you never thought you'd see clash with the mainstream DC universe. And there it is. And then the little epilogue with the lettering done in Dave Gibbons' style.
Yeah.
It was neat. It was a heck of a cliffhanger, but that said, I'm not really that eager to read the story that might come of that. Because I don't really want to see Watchmen meeting DC Universe characters. It's one of those never the twain shall meet situations. And I think they're just kind of doing it to tick off Alan Moore.
That's partly, if I had to say there was anything I didn't like, I'm not sure that I want Watchmen in the DC Universe. I'm not sure I want them manipulating everything that happened like this.
There's no guarantee that they're the bad guys.
There's not.
Right,
but
it might just be a red herring.
It could be, and it could be that they've been manipulated by something else and they will help to thwart whatever it is.
That's kind of what I'm expecting.
Until that story's told, that's the one part I'm like, well, right, I guess. Like you, I'm not too keen on the Watchmen being in this universe. I was happy with them being in their own little world, doing their own little thing.
Right. I wasn't even that keen on before Watchmen when they did those prequel miniseries.
Which, by the way, I got all those issues. I don't think I read very many of them, but before Watchmen, the Dr. Manhattan #4 issue is going gangbusters on eBay because I did kind of come across this, that there is a scene in there where I think Dr. Manhattan sort of plants something which is implied to be, if you read Watchmen towards the end, that it's his new... God, I wish I could find the exact quotes, but it's like he's growing the DC universe right there. No, I mean, that's a speculation, and that's what drives back issues, and that's going gangbusters on eBay today.
Retailers were using before Watchmen issues as birdcage liner a couple of months ago. Now this.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, literally at the London Super Comic Convention, they were giving away copies of Moloch #1. There were like dozens of them in the trash cans all over the convention center. All right, so as to my theory, and this is probably just wish fulfillment on my part as much as any kind of story logic. All right, Pandora's speech to whoever's responsible for her death and presumably is at least a party to whatever's happening to DC reality, screaming at him that he's nothing but a lonely, cruel monster who believes in skepticism, doubt, and corruption, things his cold heart believes in. And then I'm looking at something, and I'm probably doing a RIOSian reading between the lines here, but look at the chapter titles.
They're all...
Lost, Legacy, Love, Life. I'd like to lick a lollipop in Lilyhammer, but no. But the DC Universe loves its double L's. It all
Oh my God!
So I am thinking in terms of Luthor, and I am thinking in terms of Alexander Luthor, pre-Crisis, or during Crisis, technically.
Yeah.
You know, the grand architect behind Infinite Crisis. What if he somehow managed to survive being beaten to death by Luthor and the Joker? What if he is now sitting at the feet of that shadow demon anti-monitor great destroyer of continuity thing that Grant Morrison dreamed up in Multiversity? What if he's working in cahoots with that and is up to his old tricks?
When who's to say he wasn't rekindled when Flashpoint happened as well?
I suppose it's possible. I mean, it's comics. All things are possible. That's why we love him so much.
I had not thought of Alexander.
So, yeah.
That's a good thought.
I can see a couple of not especially likable things coming out of what's established from here, but I can see a lot of really cool, exciting, fertile ground for future storytelling and future continuity tweaking, the kind of things that I groove on as a Crisis-ophile.
Yeah, me too.
So this has me hopeful. And I'm happy. Now, the first thing I did, I got to tell you, when I finished reading this, was go straight to dcbservice.com and add Titans #1 to my order, because this was the last day for order revisions. Because that seems to me, if you're interested in the mystery of Wally West, which was really the backbone of this plot, that's where interested readers should go next.
Cool. Now, I must apologize, Danny. You got to follow Murd now. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Because when I was reading it, I was really starting to realize that for me, I'm not a huge DC fan. Mostly my experience with DC is Batman titles.
Okay.
I've never really gotten into any of the other crazy Crisis type stories. I've never actually read Crisis.
Oh my God.
I tried reading it,
Danny,
in my early 20s.
We're going to have a talk.
I know. I know. I'm sorry.
You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to come to the beach house until you read it. You know that.
The white wall is bearing down on you right now.
I know. I tried to read it in my early 20s, and I was so confused that I went, this is not for me. Like, I have no clue what's going on. I don't understand this.
Murd will hold your hand.
You've grown. You've matured. You're ripe now. It's ready.
Maybe I need to give it another try. So, reading this, I thought it was well done. I could follow along what was going on. I didn't read Flashpoint, so I don't even really actually know the reason for New 52. Kind of funny. But I've never been huge into the whole multiverse type thing. I don't know. I don't know. It's very confusing to me. I feel like I need an infographic and someone can explain everything to me, and then maybe I'll understand it all.
Now, you who are a Doctor Who fan.
Batman's always been very grounded, so I feel like that's
true.
why I enjoyed the Batman titles. But saying that, I did enjoy what I read. But I think the happiest thing is just listening to Pants get excited about DC again. I think that's what brings joy to me. If this brings back the joy that people were missing from New 52, then I'm so happy for that. Because I think when New 52 happened, I was excited for the idea of being able to dive into DC in a way that I never have. And then I think it really fell flat for me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really care for a lot of the titles. I lost interest in most of it. It didn't wow me in any way. But maybe I'll read some of this stuff. I'm interested to see where it goes. But I think in the end, I actually wrote down some notes now.
Okay.
While you guys were talking, while we're talking.
Excellent.
Right. Share, please.
I will say the art is fantastic in this book.
Yeah.
It is so good that I actually did not realize that those were different artists. It's seamless. Like, it really is. Like, when I was going through, I went, oh, yeah, I can see the difference and everything. Mm-hmm. But it really is seamless. The coloring is beautiful. Everything, it's really well done. And Jeff Johns did a really good job. Like, I don't think this is something that someone off the street could pick up. I feel like you would need to know certain things. And I do feel, because I watch the DC TV shows, I kind of understand some of it. And
there's some truth to that.
I'm like, oh, I recognize that name of that character that I didn't really know existed.
And I think that's purposely done as well.
I think so too. But in the end, I'm really curious. What do you think the end game of this is? Do you think that they're going to bring back the old continuity? Or is it just, this is still the continuity, like it's going to stay this New 52, but you're going to learn more backstory? Because what I understood when I read interviews was that Rebirth was supposed to kind of fill in the blanks, because New 52 started and it didn't, the whole point of the legacy is you didn't know what happened beforehand. So it was supposed to fill in the gaps. And now I feel like this is something completely different. And I'm really curious to, like, what is the end game? Do they have an end game? Because from what I understand, is Jeff Johns leaving after this? Like, he's going to go into movie, TV world or whatever? He's not really involved
I think that's dual responsibility.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him writing that much anymore.
Okay, no, so he's not writing, but he's still probably, like, I guess, architecting everything?
Yeah.
Like the creative director for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, which I guess is good.
And I see this more like what Merd said, that this issue allows the back door to be open, that while you have a multiverse in the New 52, which really was just a couple Earths that we knew of, not a full-blown set, I think this allows things that we are familiar with through the pre-Flashpoint universe to come through and be told, whether it be legacy characters, whether it be Wally West now coming in, JSA's probably coming back. There's a whole bunch of different things that are just missing from the New 52 that were grounded in the pre-Flashpoint universe. And this allows them to all coexist and probably interact a lot more than what the New 52 was meant to be.
And I do, would you guys want for it to go back to pre-52, or are you happy with what it is?
In a heartbeat, I would go back.
Okay.
I would take a couple things of the post-Flashpoint universe, the New 52, but I think a better way to do a multiverse would be that the New 52 was one of the Earths of a multiverse.
It's entirely possible to have your cake and eat it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Or even have more than one multiverse. For that matter. It would be awfully confusing. Then you'd really need that flow chart, Danny.
Yeah.
No. I feel like they need to make a flow chart for both Marvel and DC, because now Marvel introduced this whole like Marvel Now concept again. So I'm like, what? Can someone please get with me and I'll help you make the infographics. Give me the information, because I am, as someone who's become very casual when it comes to superhero stuff, it's so very confusing and very, very overwhelming. And I get anxious just the idea of trying to catch up and understand it. I just decide not to read it.
Well, that's why I've fallen flat on most of the Marvel stuff, because of the multitude of reboots and relaunches and issue number ones. Now, DC sure has done its fair share over the years, but I think Marvel, every year,
Marvel
it's like they're giving a new number one for everybody.
They're not officially rebooting the continuity, but they're relaunching titles.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, the problem with it constantly, like, I've always been more Marvel for me. For some reason, those characters resonate with me more, even though I do love the Bat universe, considering that most of those characters are actually my favorite characters. But Marvel, too, everything is so number one, that I get confused anymore. I can't find trades. I can't, you really feel like you need someone to actually diagram. Okay, this is number one, and then this is number one, but from this date and this date, and it's so confusing that I'm curious, how does this bring new readers in? I even mentioned on my Twitter, it's both Marvel and DC, how do new readers feel like they can go in and understand this stuff? And a couple of people did respond to me that, this stuff does actually make them not want to read comics.
Now,
see, that was interesting.
I've always been excited about a multiverse in the DC universe more than the Marvel universe. I've always been more of a DC guy. Mm-hmm. I liked the way the old multiverse was. Crisis on Infinite Earths was great. I was happy when they brought a multiverse back. I was also happy when they had a new Earth and then brought a multiverse back.
Mm-hmm. Created a new multiverse.
Yeah, and I was happy with the explanation of some of those worlds, where one's the Batman Else worlds where he's a vampire, and very specific. Not the best, but at least it was a good explanation of it.
Yeah.
So that being said, I really thought they missed the boat in making New 52 go on 3 or 4 years and not making it one of the multiple Earths just from whatever current multiverse was out there. I thought that would have just been a no-brainer to do, where you could have these stories for 5 years. Here's your New 52, and now we get the story where it's part of the multiverse.
Well, it's an old sales technique.
It is.
Just denying. People don't realize how much they want these things until they're denied them for a while. Mm-hmm. So selling us this darker, sort of tarnished new DC continuity, and then selling us the old stuff again. It's kind of like new Coke, classic Coke.
Oh, sure. But I'm also perfectly fine if this is multiple multiverses. Part of me is just happy that Wally West himself is now back into it after being absent for so long, because he, like Pants, was such a strong Flash character. That's the Flash I, quote, grew up reading. I read more Flash of Wally West than anybody else, because that's who was Flash when I was reading stuff. So for me, there's a lot of joy out of some of what I love, Ted Kord coming back, whether it's old Ted Kord, which it's not. It's New 52 Ted Kord, now being paired up with Jaime to try and figure out what to do with the Scarab. But there's a Ted Kord now, which I think is sorely missing. Mm-hmm. I also think a Booster Gold needs to come back because he's been absent for a long time.
Oh, my God, that's right.
To me, if you have Jaime and you have Ted, you got to have Booster come back at some point. Probably not right away, but I do think he should get in there and be Blue Beetle's partner, while Ted Kord is more the old Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond, controlling things in the background, helping them along, manipulating the equipment, because Booster is all about fame and fast and toned down. I mean, he's better now. Jaime's new and untested, even still. So to put them together and have Ted be in the background being the mentor for both of them, even though he was never a hero, just makes some kind of sense to me, that a direction I'd like to see them go. And then eventually get the Brave and the Bold comic I've always wanted with all three of those characters. So there's a lot of good stuff for me in this that I've been waiting for, to couple with the New 52 storylines continuing on in some fashion. So you're not erasing anything that happened in the last 5 years, but you're getting some more of the legacy, some more of the backdoor that should be open for pre-Flashpoint people to come in and out of. I just see nothing but goodness of this if they do it right.
You know what's going to confuse the issue even more, but that needs to happen? They're going to need to find a way to work in convergence.
Sure.
They can't just say it didn't happen or didn't matter, because that's the whole reason why we've got the pre-Flashpoint Superman and Lois in the current DC universe.
Yeah.
So, and then they claimed sort of offhandedly at the end of that series that off-panel, Superman and Barry Allen and Hal Jordan And I think Supergirl also, like the a bunch of pre-Flashpoint iterations of different characters went back in time to undo the original Crisis. And they just kind of offhandedly said that guess what? That Crisis on Infinite Earths didn't count anymore.
What?
Yeah. Just
blasphemy.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way I look at it.
I can imagine.
Well. I mean, Convergence itself was pretty close to being a throwaway story. So, as I've just said, it's not, but it came close to. So throwing away a story like Crisis, just so casually as that, it didn't sit well with me. But yeah, they're going to have to revisit that too. If we're talking about past versions of characters being folded back into continuity, that's kind of what Convergence was all about too.
I think I did see somewhere that this whole playing out of the whole, the clock is ticking could take several years. It's not going to be like, boom, right away. They're going to resolve the story that was laid here.
Well, they may move up that timetable if the sales flag again.
Well, that's true. I mean,
the longer they delay,
we've always said it. It's always true. A jumping on point is also a good jumping off point for people.
Oh, sure.
But I'm jumping back on, and we'll
right.
see how long it lasts. Like I said, I'm really psyched about this. I really am. And
welcome back, Brian.
I mean, there's no guarantee I'm going to stay around for a while, but I'm trying all the new titles and very excited. Very excited.
F those people.
Peter!
Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Hi.
Don't talk to her, Peter. She's never read Crisis.
So we are joined by Peter the RIOS. RIOS, welcome back, Peter.
What? Where did this come from? Peter
I don't know.
RIOS.
I don't know. Just me being stupid.
I made a silly joke once and
Pants took it.
Like everything I do, I beat it into the ground.
Ran with it.
So can I play Matt and do like a drive-by phone call?
Yes, you can.
You do just what you feel, Peter.
And repeat everything you guys just said for the past 30 minutes.
That's never happened. What are you talking about?
You got him good.
Have you guys talked about the symbolism yet in this book?
Not too much. We've actually all gone through our thoughts and everything. We're almost shot our bolt, so we're happy to get you to rive it up again here.
Beyond the obvious homages, to Wally West in that one pose looking like Barry Allen from Crisis on Infinite Earths, right before Pandora gets killed, the panel with her face is very much kind of like Rorschach's face right before he got killed in Watchmen. But one of the better ones, one of the ones that is really subtle and just I didn't get it until after the sort of like the second reading. The slow crawl, the slow page turn to when Batman finds the comedian pin. If you notice, it goes from 2 big panels to 4 panels to 9 panels, which was a staple for the old Watchmen series, the 9-panel grid. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to the big giant splash page with him picking up the comedian pin. I just thought that was just so cool design-wise. It's not just a story that's working on its own level. It's working in the comic book medium level as well. And if you look at the watch at the end in the epilogue, or maybe it's even in the beginning. I don't have the book in front of me.
It's both. There's a watch in the beginning and then at the end.
So the watch is dated 1938.
Yep.
Which is when Action Comics #1 came out.
I did not catch that. Excellent.
And the second hand, the very first time you see it, it's on 52.
Yes.
Again, I thought was really... And then it works its way backwards, right? It's working its way to quarter of. But so there, think about the symbolism and all that. Not only being on 52, but working its way backwards and the whole concept of looking back. And I had a crazy theory about this watch and why it was such a focus point for Jeff Johns. And so the whole story kicks off, the watch was passed down to Wally from his uncle, which I assume was Barry, mm-hmm. who it was passed down from his father and so on and so on. And then he says he lost it. And then this watch somehow appears on Mars in the epilogue. if you go back to the old Watchmen series, issue number 4, I believe, was the origin of Dr. Manhattan, of John Osterman. And there's a watch that's sort of prevalent in that too. Janie Slater, his girlfriend at the time, hands him her watch because it's broken or something like that, and he fixes it, but then he leaves his vest, his science coat, lab coat, in that one machine, and that's why he goes back, and that's how he becomes Dr. Manhattan. And he reaches in his pocket and he goes, "Oh my God, here's the watch that I was working on." So I had this crazy notion. He was born in Brooklyn. They show a scene in Watchmen that he was born in Brooklyn, that he was working on a watch repair thing. His father threw all the cogs out the window because the war was coming. Anyway, I was doing this image search on Wally West, and I found this page from issue number 2 of the Mike Barron Wally West Flash comic back in 1987, right after Legends.
With Vandal Savage in it, right?
Right. Vandal Savage, Jackson Geiss is the artist on that. It was a brilliant series. It was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really what I think helped propel Wally West as the Flash to be, so well regarded. Well, Vandal Savage shows up in his apartment, and he lives in Brooklyn, and they're having a discussion, and then they do this pull-away shot from outside his apartment, and there's a sign that says, "Who watches the Watchmen?" And I was like, well, I tweeted it today. I said, apparently DC Rebirth has been going since 1987.
Oh, my goodness.
So I had this, crazy idea. It's like, are they going to try to tie this watch that Wally lost to Dr. Manhattan somehow? Like this, are they, again, this is mindless speculation. There's very little sort of true evidence. This is just me pulling, factoids way back into the DC lore and going, oh my God, I forgot all about that. Oh my God, wait, this watch, why is it on Mars? Dr. Manhattan's on Mars. Dr. Manhattan was a son of a watchmaker. All of it just coming together is just, that's what I kind of like about this issue. It plays within DC continuity. It plays within DC mythology, visual lore. I mean, there's a lot to it. And to a first-time reader, that might be jarring, but my hope is that they'll be interested in the parts that will connect to later releases. This whole Rebirth specials that are coming out, the new number 1s. I mean, I've always said every event should get you interested in the larger universe that it's playing in. I mean, that's really, for me, something that's why Crisis was so powerful. So I just thought that was really cool and just sort of like an interesting part of this series that I hope people are paying attention to. So, and the other thing I have to say, too, it's the first comic I ever bought digitally.
Oh yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Same here.
Huh?
Isn't that crazy? It's the first
wow.
one, I'm just not that I'm against it. It just, it was, I couldn't wait anymore. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I got it. And it was available on iTunes. So I'm not even sure where I bought it through, but.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, I picked it up. $2.99 cover price too. Not even a discount.
I love reading stuff digital, but boy, oh boy, I hate cover price on digital.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going through very slowly and doing a CGS Tumblr.
I see that.
Yeah, I'm going through and hopping in behind the scenes stuff. Like, here's the first episode where the dogs barked. Here's the, here's the first episode that Shane was on, or Kevin, and digging a little deeper. It's kind of like a little behind the scenes thing. But I think one of the last episodes I did, which was around episode 8 or 9 or something like that. I'm not real far into that series, but Brian and I did a review, for those people who may not know Brian Deemer. Hell, they don't even know who I am. They're like, who's this guy?
We know Peter. That's all that matters.
That's right. We did a review of Countdown, DC Countdown to Infinite Crisis, the 80-page $1 comic that Jeff Johns and company put out. That was 2005, and that was another sort of one-stop shop. Read this, and it'll sort of catapult you into what DC is doing at the time. And I sort of made the point on Twitter that I feel, even if it's something that maybe people don't want in their comics, I feel when DC puts its head around their line-wide universe, having a story or having a theme that they can bounce around. I don't mean crossovers. I don't, sometimes people get nervous and they're like, well, I don't want to read 50 titles a month. No, I don't mean that. I mean just thematically the books are connected. When they do that, that's some of the better DC storytelling, I find.
I agree with that.
And that was certainly an instance back there in 2005 with Countdown leading up to Infinite Crisis. Because then afterwards, during like 1 year later and all that other stuff, it kind of, they splintered again, and it wasn't as cohesive a universe, or at least storytelling anyway. So I find that these moments are sometimes when the larger narrative works, and, new reader friendly, who cares? I mean, I always say I jumped into All-Star Squadron with issue number like 25 or 26. Nobody could make heads and tails of that. It's called imagination and just sort of research it through. But they've tried it. They've sort of tried it with a number of titles and here and there, and they're sort of going back to the well and freely admitting that too. Like that's the thing I don't think they're hiding. They're freely admitting they are going back to the well. In an interesting way that, regardless of the spoilers, I don't know if anybody really saw this coming to this degree. It's true, so. Go ahead,
sorry. Well, I was just say, are there any Rebirth titles you're looking to pick up now, Peter?
Well, DCBS is doing that stupid bundle, so I'm in for all the issue one.
I'm right there with you, Peter.
Those stupid sponsors of ours.
Stupid meant lovingly.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that they're doing that bundle.
It's hard to pass up.
Oh, it's impossible to pass up.
There were some retailers that were like, "Oh, we can't compete. And I mean, I guess that's true. And at some point, you got to think DCBS is, it could be a little bit of a loss here and there, if it doesn't work out for them. But if it gains people to read a few more titles than they normally would, I guess that's what they're banking on. Mm-hmm. I'm sort of transitioning, I think, a little bit in terms of floppies versus because I'm doing it with TV as well, where I like Preacher. The first episode of Preacher came out. I won't say anything, but I don't think I'm going to watch that week to week. I think I'll binge watch it later, just because time commitment is too much and money commitment is too much. And but for bundles like that, sure, I'll jump in.
Yep. Love the bundles. Well, and I'm sure it'll bring me back to reading a few more DC titles than I was. From Marvel, I was only picking up monthly the Star Wars stuff, and from DC, it was only Justice League and a couple other select titles. I mean, I was down to like 7 to 10 books a month total. So I'm sure there'll be some things I stick with longer than what I have been.
The only other point, I don't want to monopolize, is the convergence, not to use that word, but the convergence of this DC Rebirth one-shot, the Flash season finale, the Legends of Tomorrow season finale.
Yep. Yes. Pants and I mentioned that as well.
Superman. Have you guys talked about this already?
Not on the show so much, but off the air, yeah. Because we didn't want to spoil the TV stuff for people. But
it's eerily, it's just, that's like, Jupiter, Uranus, Pantanus, Venus, and all those lining up at once. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, wait a minute. There's got to be more to this than just happenstance.
Yeah, that Flash season finale. The next day, this comes out. Hours later, it comes out, and it's like, whoa!
Awesome.
I love it when there's some sort of editorial
symmetry.
Yeah, whatever you call it, where it all comes together.
Synergy.
Yeah.
And Jeff Johns is in a great position right now.
Sure is.
Synergize like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is the new Wolfman.
Yeah. The only thing that would have been better is if Legends aired this week to coincide with all 3 in a row, but that's not how the schedule panned out. Right.
Yeah. And I'm not caught up on Arrow, so I can't speak to...
I am caught up on that. Tonight's episode, I may not get to watch tonight, but my son and I caught up on that over the weekend.
Yeah. Danny and Mert haven't said much. I just wanted to hear what they had to say.
Oh, I didn't really have much to say about it because I'm not a huge DC person.
Right.
But I thought it was good. I was was happy that everyone was excited. That's the thing that I'm getting out of it. Like, I'm not floored, like, I'm not over the moon with it because I'm not a huge DC person, so it doesn't affect me.
Right.
But if it makes people who were so disillusioned with the New 52 excited again for DC, then I'm all for it.
It's some people on Twitter, they're even saying, my God, people are actually talking about comics. You know, that's awesome. That's what it should be. So yeah, I totally see that point. Yeah, I mean, it is written. Well, it's funny. Somebody said this is the most Jeff Johns' book ever, and I sort of agree with that. It's kind of hitting notes that he's been known to hit before.
Yeah.
But I mean, when he does it well. He does, you know, and it's unabashedly a comic book. It's unabashedly a superhero cape comic, a DC comic, because of you can't do this at Marvel. You can't do this at any other company. I mean, the way DC has, Frankensteined their continuity. I mean, it really only works this way, and they're balls out saying, "Yep, this is it. This is what we do."
Yep.
We mess things up and we patch it together.
Well, on that note, do we have anything else to add, or are we all through here?
I'm spent.
I was just curious what everyone's opinion on adding the Watchmen into the universe is. Because I know Murd said he wasn't completely happy with it, but no one else really gave their...
I said I was
really
kind of...
touched upon it, and it's a huge deal at the end. Like, that's a pretty huge shocker.
I'd said I was a little bit skeptical about it, too. I'm not so sure I want them playing around in this universe, but we'll see what stories they tell or how they come through.
The angle I see them taking, at least at first, until maybe they throw us the curveball and reveal that the Watchmen aren't behind this at all, is, again, Jeff Johns toying with metatext and this whole thing proceeding from the premise that it's Watchmen's fault. Like all the darkness that he's declaring in this story, the slowly infected DC continuity,
goodness.
It all stems from Watchmen, published 30 years ago, incidentally. This is the anniversary year.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that is what led to the influx of grim and gritty that poisoned our comics all that time ago. Whether that's in any way a truthful statement or not, it seems to be a widely held belief among certain quarters of fandom, and it seems that Johns is picking that up and running with it here by presenting metatextually the Watchmen as representations of that trend in storytelling that took root in the 80s. And I, as I said before, I'm not all that eager to read a story that does that. And on top of that, I just kind of prefer the Watchmen to remain their own little self-contained, hermetically sealed universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole damn thing, quite frankly.
You've watched all this Doctor Who. This should be easy to wrap your head around.
Come on. It's funny. Doctor Who is easy to wrap my head around. That's
what I can't believe. I wanted to say that. You watch so much Doctor Who, Danny. This you can't wrap your head around.
No, not at all.
All right.
I think because they're traveling through time, not through, like, different Earths.
Different vibrational frequencies.
Like, it's just weird.
Come on.
Do you think when they got all the people, the new writers, do you think they told them the Watchmen twist?
I don't know. We can find out. We know enough writers.
You should ask someone.
And they may not be able to tell.
Yeah, but I'm actually curious
But I would say
if the
probably
writers
not.
are also shocked by this, or was that like during the summit, did they say, this is what's happening? And because the fact that it didn't get leaked until, Saturday is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
someone actually got a hold of the book.
Yeah, like the rumors didn't come out for that, and it's a pretty big deal. A lot of writers knew.
I would say it was more they did not know, and it was kept secret, more like when the S.H.I.E.L.D. cast went and saw Winter Soldier and didn't know what was happening. All of a sudden they come out, whoa, all right, what do we do with S.H.I.E.L.D. now? And then we're told what was going to happen from there on. So yeah, I don't think the writers knew. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think they didn't.
Has anyone read, this is, the other company, but has anyone read the Captain America book?
No, I sort of heard what happened, but I haven't actually read a copy of it.
I'm curious what I think the internet's breaking today.
Yeah, I think it is. And we're going to break it by putting out a new episode right after.
Yeah.
Broken.
We will be the straw that breaks the internet's back.
Yeah, right.
My only thing about the Watchmen thing is, I mean, there's very real precedence that they could just say it's Watchmen from Earth something.
Right.
It's not even the Alan Moore, which on one hand is a cop out, but on the other hand sort of protects, the original story. But they've already stuck their finger into Watchmen already, like with the before Watchmen, and that caused such a.
Yeah, they've already pissed him off so much, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even, I think there's a little bit too much of trying to protect Alan Moore, in the world these days. I mean, what has Alan Moore done for you lately? It's sort of that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, if they're really going with this whole 2-year plan, we're not going to know for 2 years. So, and 2 years, what is the anniversary of something? I don't know which anniversary. 2018 is what the. It's
another
80th?
10th anniversary
It's
of DC.
the 80th anniversary of Superman, I think.
Which is a stupid anniversary to celebrate, but whatever.
All right, so will that wrap it up for us then?
Yeah, I think
for
so.
this special episode of Comic Geek Speak. All right, well, once again, this episode was brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com and let us know what you think of DC Universe Rebirth and Rebirth and all the things that are coming afterward. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, look up Peter's Flash page because I did that while we were talking.
Yep, me too.
And we would like to thank everyone who contributes to the show. Peter, thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun to hear your opinion and, see you again with your Scarlet Rios picture on Skype. And as always...
No more Watchmen.
And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
Laser beams, opinions like the